The birth of a baby is a special time in the life of any parent. It's an exhausting experience for mum and a dramatic introduction to the outside world for the baby. But midwives and doctors are close by to quickly check that all is well. Mum and Dad have been waiting for this moment for 9 months. Now it's up to them to provide the love and care their new baby needs as it grows and develops.
Green eyebrows. Have a stretch first.
Babies need feeding and looking after. They're helpless on their own and start life needing constant attention. But as they get older, they gradually become more independent. Getting taller is one of the most obvious signs of growing up. Eventually, your body starts to change and you begin to grow into an adult. For some people, it's a time of anxiety. It's natural to worry about whether all the changes that are happening are normal. Teen magazines are an important source of information for young people. At Bliss magazine, the agony aunt is Tina Rajicevic, and she's constantly answering questions about puberty.
Puberty is a weird time. It's when you start to change from being a child into being an adult. Girls start to produce a mature egg each month from their ovaries, and boys start to produce sperm in their testicles. Now, these changes are brought about by chemicals called hormones, and besides bringing about the bodily changes, they also bring about emotional changes. You might start feeling all over the place. One minute you'll be feeling up, the next minute you'll be feeling down. You might start to feel oversensitive, be easily upset.
I sometimes get a bit moody, and I do try not to be, but I don't know, I just sometimes feel just different. I remember falling out with my friends all the time, especially with my best friend. It was every day we used to argue continuously.
I was really horrible to my parents and to my teachers and kind of hung around with the bad crowd and thought I was always right, even though I wasn't.
The worst thing about puberty is sweating and smells.
Kind of realised after a while that my armpits smelled of turnips, and just thought it was an idea to start using deodorant, and no one wanted to sit next to me in class because I smelled so bad.
The worst agonies of growing up are spots and periods and feeling different from everyone, but you're not, because everyone's going through the same thing.
Spots.
Spots.
Spots. I think the only thing you enjoy about them is bursting them, which is a bit gross, but it seems to be a bit of enjoyment for me anyway.
What about girls? What physical changes happen only to them?
The sorts of changes that happen to girls around puberty are the area around the nipple will start to swell, the nipple will stick out and the breasts will grow. Also they'll start to get hair around the genital region and underneath the arms. They'll get taller, the shape will change in that the hips will broaden out and the waist will become narrower and the periods will begin.
Because a lot of people think that, the taller girls are the first to develop, but I was the smallest out of the whole group, and I was the first one to start my periods, to have a bra and to develop a pair of breasts.
I remember starting my period, and I went downstairs to go tell my mum, and she says, all right, and got some sanitary towels for me. And it wasn't as bad as I thought at all. I don't know why I was worried.
And at first it seems like a really bad thing to be on your period, because you don't know what's happening to your body and you get stomach cramps. But in the end you realise, you end up living with it, and it isn't as bad as it first seems.
A girl's reproductive organs are hidden inside her body. If you make a triangle with your hands, you can get a good idea of how much space they take up. There are 2 pale coloured ovaries. Fallopian tubes lead from here to the uterus or womb. The tube leading to the opening between her legs is the vagina. Girls are born with thousands of immature egg cells inside each ovary. When a girl reaches puberty, the egg cells begin to mature on a monthly cycle. Each month, an egg ripens and is released from one of the ovaries. It travels towards the fallopian tube, where it begins its journey to the uterus. This is a magnified view of what it looks like in real life. Fluid pours out of the ovary, carrying the tiny egg with it. If the egg meets with a sperm as it travels along the fallopian tube, it'll develop into a baby. If it doesn't meet any sperm, it simply carries on its journey. Each month, the uterus prepares itself for a possible pregnancy. It develops a fleshy lining. When the body realizes that no baby is growing, the lining and the egg pass out through the vagina as a small amount of blood. This happens over several days and is known as menstruation, or a period. So what physical changes are happening only to boys?
The sorts of changes that happen to boys during puberty are the testicles will get larger and also the skin will get darker. The penis will lengthen and grow thicker. They'll start to get hair around the base of the penis, under the arms and on the chest and on the face. They'll get taller, the chest will get broader, and they'll also get heavier and more muscular, and the voice will break.
The worst thing is the variation in your voice.
You'll be talking and all of a sudden a high-pitched squeal will come out. You have to quickly look around you and check to make sure nobody's looking at you.
Body hair. Didn't notice any gradual growth of body hair. It all kind of woke up one morning, it was there.
People had more pubic hair than me, and people were bigger in general and bigger genitalia, which was embarrassing at first. It evens out very quickly though.
Lots of boys worry about the size of the penis and about wet dreams. But the thing is, your penis will grow, so there's really nothing to worry about. Everyone grows at different rates. Now, a wet dream is where you ejaculate sperm in your sleep. Some boys have no wet dreams at all, others have lots of wet dreams. But the thing to remember is it's all perfectly normal and nothing to worry about.
Boys' reproductive organs are mainly outside the body. A thin-skinned sac hangs behind the penis. It's called a scrotum, and inside are two testes. When a boy reaches puberty, it's here that sperm is produced. Millions of microscopic tadpole-shaped sperm cells are made and stored every day. Each testis is attached to a long, thin tube called a sperm duct. This connects to another tube called the urethra, which runs down the centre of the penis. When stimulated, the penis becomes erect. Muscle contractions propel the sperm in a fluid called semen along the sperm duct, urethra, and out of the penis. This is an ejaculation.
Puberty can occur at different times for different people. Girls tend to enter puberty earlier than boys. For girls, the average age is about 10 or 11, although it can be earlier or it can be later. For boys, the average age is about 13 or 14, although again, it can be earlier, it can be later. It's different for everyone.
Things just happen gradually, and I expected it all to happen at once, but it didn't. It just, over a couple of years, things just started to happen.
My advice would be just not to worry about it, because you're going to have to go through it anyway, whatever happens.
Something you can't stop, so don't be worried about it.
So don't worry.
Don't worry.
Once your body is producing eggs or sperm, you become fertile. This means you're now capable of having children of your own. But having a child is a big responsibility. They need lots of love and care for many years. If a couple are to have a child, sperm from the man has to reach an egg inside the woman's body. This happens when a man and woman have sexual intercourse. It's an enjoyable part of a loving relationship. When the man feels excited, his penis fills with blood and becomes erect. When the woman feels excited, her vagina becomes wider and moist. This makes it easier for a partner to put his penis into it. During sexual intercourse, The man and the woman move their bodies against each other. Eventually, the man ejaculates. Sperm is pumped out through the penis and into the vagina. Millions of sperm swim into the uterus and along the fallopian tubes, but many die along the way. If an egg is travelling down the tube, there's a chance that one of the sperm might fertilise it. For this to happen, the egg and the sperm have to join together. The fertilised egg attaches itself to the spongy lining of the uterus, where it begins to develop into a new human being. It takes just one sperm and one egg to make a baby. Deciding to have a child is a big decision. Your body might be ready, but that doesn't mean to say you are. What do people have to think about before having a child? Some women become pregnant after having sex only once, but for others, it isn't that easy. Jackie and Neil have been wanting a child for the past 4 years and have come to Leeds General Infirmary to find out why they're having problems. Tony Rutherford is a specialist at the hospital. For Jackie and Neil, not being able to have a child is a distressing and painful experience. So what could be going wrong?
The most common problems are failure to produce a good quality egg, failure to produce good numbers of quality sperm, and a blockage of the fallopian tube. If we find that the problem is with the man, with your sperm count, it depends on how low the sperm count is as to what treatment we can offer.
So how do they find out if a man is producing enough good quality sperm? One test is to take a sample of sperm and look at it under the microscope. Sperm has to make a long journey through the tubes in the testes, along the penis, into the vagina, and eventually up the fallopian tubes. So they have to be strong swimmers. This sample is healthy. There's lots of them, and most of the sperm are moving around. A sample of unhealthy sperm would look quite different. There are fewer, and they hardly move at all. Once the doctors have checked the sperm, it's the woman's turn to undergo tests.
To investigate the problems that can occur in a woman, we test whether the tube is open, the tube that leads from the womb to the ovary. We do that using a special X-ray called a hysterosalpingogram.
Sounds complicated, but all it means is that a special dye is injected into the uterus. The dye passes into the fallopian tubes and will show up on an X-ray. A camera is positioned just above the uterus, ready to take a picture. A few minutes later, and the X-ray is ready for the doctors to look at. The dye shows up the uterus as a white triangle. And the two fallopian tubes look like curly trails of smoke coming out of the top. Both tubes are visible, which means they're both healthy. On this X-ray, the uterus again looks like a triangle, but only one fallopian tube is showing. There's nothing on the left-hand side of the screen, so that tube must be blocked. Once the doctors have found out why a couple are finding it difficult to have a baby, they can decide on the best treatment. This usually means taking a sample of the man's sperm and the woman's eggs and mixing them together outside the body. It's called in vitro fertilization, or IVF. The latest technique involves taking just one sperm and injecting it into an egg. A single sperm is sucked into a microscopic syringe. Injecting it into an egg is extremely delicate. Under the microscope, it's just possible to see the sperm coming out of the syringe. Although the sperm and the egg have met outside the mother's body, the fertilised egg begins to develop as normal. It quickly divides into 2 cells and then continues to divide until eventually it'll multiply into a baby made up of millions of cells. A few days later, the fertilised egg can be placed into the woman's uterus. The chances of her body accepting it are slim, so up to 3 fertilised eggs are placed inside her, with the hope that at least one of them will take. Why don't they try with more than 3 eggs at a time? In humans, it's usual for only one baby to develop in the uterus at a time. In other mammals, a litter of many offspring is more common. This dog has just given birth to 6 puppies, and another one is on its way. Each puppy is born in its own sac, called an amnion, filled with a watery liquid. This protects the puppy from bumps and bruises whilst inside its mum's body. Once the puppy is outside, she eats all of this away and has to chew through the umbilical cord which attaches the pup to her. Then it's a case of licking the newly born puppy clean. A human baby develops inside its mum in a similar way, surrounded by a sac of fluid. The developing human baby is called a fetus. At 5 weeks old, it's only about 2 centimetres long, but you can see the first signs of arms and legs beginning to grow, and its heart pumping. From the very beginning, the developing fetus is totally dependent on its mother. The umbilical cord is a vital link. It attaches the baby to the placenta. The mother's blood flows through the placenta. Oxygen and food in her blood pass into the blood of the fetus. At the same time, waste products pass out of the fetus back to the mother. The umbilical cord remains an important lifeline in the womb. At 9 weeks old, the fetus is about 4 centimetres long. Its hands and feet are already perfectly formed. By 12 weeks, the fetus is starting to look even more like a human being, although it's still only 8 centimetres long. After 9 months of growing inside the mother's body, the newly born baby is ready to meet the outside world, and the human life cycle continues.
Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it?